Deutsche Bank Falling, your news update, and we talk paid transparency on this edition of Arbitrage News Weekend starting right now. Hello and welcome to Arbitrage News Weekend for March 25th, 2023. I'm Joshua Stark. Shares in Deutsche Bank fell sharply Friday, dragging down major European banks and leading German Chancellor Olaf Scholz to express confidence in the solidarity of the country's largest lender as fears about the global financial system sent fresh shudders through the markets. Deutsche Bank's shares tumbled 10.9% in early afternoon trading on the German stock exchange. It follows a steep rise in the cost to insure bondholders against the bank defaulting on its debts, known as credit default swaps. Rising costs on insuring debt was also a prelude to a government bank takeover of Swiss lender Credit Suisse by its rival UBS. Americans eager to buy a home this spring, beware. It's slim pickings out there. The number of U.S. homes on the market is at near historic lows, which could dim would-be buyers' prospects for finding a house or condo and fuel competition for the most affordable properties, economists say. As of the end of February, just as the spring home buying season got underway, some 980,000 homes were on the market nationally, according to the National Association of Realtors. That's an increase of 15.3% from February last year, when the number of homes for sale sank to an all-time low. February's tally of homes for sale translates into a 2.6-month supply at the current sales pace, according to NAR. In a more balanced market between buyers and sellers, there is a 5 to 6 month supply. British antitrust regulators scrutinizing Microsoft's blockbuster purchase of video game maker Activision Blizzard on Friday dropped concerns that the deal would hurt the console gaming market, narrowing the scope of their investigation. The Competition and Markets Authority said it could no longer think that the $69 billion deal will result in substantial lessening of competition for console games in the UK, an update to provisional findings issued last month based on new evidence. The all-cash deal is set to be the biggest in the history of the tech industry, but it faces stiff opposition from rival Sony and is being examined by regulators in the US and Europe over fears that it would give Microsoft control of popular game franchises like Call of Duty. 7 law enforcement officers have sued rap artist Afro Man, accusing him of improperly using footage from a police raid on his Ohio home last year in his music videos. 4 deputies, 2 sergeants, and a detective with the Adams County Sheriff's Office brought the suit earlier this month, claiming invasion of privacy. Other law enforcement officers who were involved in the raid are not named as plaintiffs. The plaintiffs say the rapper, whose real name is Joseph Foreman, took footage of their faces obtained during the August 2022 raid and used it in music videos and social media posts without their consent. They say that it has caused them emotional distress, embarrassment, ridicule, loss of reputation, and humiliation. Foreman vowed to countersue for the undeniable damage this had on my clients, family, career, and property. More after this on Arbitrage News Weekend. Stick around.
I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you prevent wildfires.
Dude, I've got this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
You know what? I'll bet you $5. Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again. Then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
This week's Arbitrage blog includes, hey, what's up with overdraft fees? Challenging the Fed, and how much do you get paid? All this and more in this week's Arbitrage blog, available now at arbitragetrade.com. Now, let's go to the president and CEO of Arbitrage, Mr. Royce Wells, for more. Royce has had way too much caffeine today, and it's going to be fun.
Sure, fun.
So let's talk banking.
Oh, fun.
It's a great subject around here.
Yes. And you can take that to the bank.
Ari, with her article this week, took me all the way back to college and my first bank account, when they had the audacity to, when I didn't have any money in the bank account, to charge me for not having said money in the bank account when I tried to take out more.
Did you know you can opt out of that?
You know, I didn't know that.
Yes,
Tell me
you can.
about that, please.
Well, there's a little bitty form that you sign if you go down to your local branch. And basically, you're saying if there's not money there, let it bounce. Send a note saying that there's no money there.
You know, here's the thing about that, and I need to couch this with, we are not financial advisors. We don't, we don't do that. But that would seem like a dangerous position to be in sometimes, because
not worth
some
it.
Some people can't behave.
Well, I will say this. You also have other options depending on your level of sophistication as a investor, I guess, in that bank, because your money is in that bank. You can actually ask for something called a bank reserve. Basically, it is an interest-free loan that basically covers up to, the biggest reserve I've ever seen was about $500. And basically, in those times when money get tight, they basically take from the reserve, but you basically have, I think, a 3-day window to have it paid back, which basically gets you out of those overdraft charges.
So I've never heard of that. That's really interesting. When I first had my first overdraft fee, I remember this vividly, because it was like, you what? To my what? And how did you
And
what?
it snowballs.
And it snowballs. That's the thing. It absolutely snowballs. It kind of makes me feel like a recalcitrant child, that needs to be punished for something that, I did. Now, I don't get overdraft fees today. I'm much more responsible, but, it was like just a slap in the face almost.
Yeah, I've even seen banks do dirty things with that. Meaning, like, for example, if you have a very large withdrawal, they will take the very large withdrawal and let all of the small ones bounce, so that way they can get all of those fees for every single one that bounce.
Yeah, that's just amazing to me. I mean, I'm shocked. Ari, who wrote this article, which is available on our blog at arbitragetrade.com, said that revenue from overdraft fees was around $8.82 billion in 2019.
Yep, money in the street. Better pick it up. Don't let them take it.
That's impressive. Overdraft fees can cost around $35 per transaction and can add up really quickly, as you said. I mean, continuous overdraft fees on top of the initial overdraft fee. And
don't forget, if it was refused, the person it came from, they're going to charge you too.
More after this. Stick around.
Hey, wouldn't it be great if life came with a remote control? You could hit pause when you needed to, or hit rewind, like that time you knocked down that wasp's nest. Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. To learn your risk, take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
When might you be buzzed? When you suddenly love everything.
You guys, I love this song. I love these nachos. I love our kickball league. Ugh! I love this guy. What's your name? You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzzed warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I love your car. Is this real leather?
To protect her home and family in a disaster, Karen was willing to wade through water, mud, and insurance paperwork.
Yeah, I can do this.
You go, Karen! By simply understanding and updating what her insurance covers and doesn't cover now, she'll be better prepared no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Sean Lee, a high school social studies teacher in Seattle, wants to see lessons on the internet akin to a kind of 21st century driver's education, an essential for modern life. Lee has tried to bring that kind of education into his classroom with lessons about the need to double-check online sources, to diversify news feeds, and to bring critical thinking to the web. He's also created an organization for other teachers to share resources. This technology is so new that no one taught us how to use it. People are like, there's nothing we can do, and then they throw up their hands in the air. I disagree with that. I would like to think that the Republic can survive an algorithm. Lee's efforts are part of a growing movement of educators and misinformation researchers working to offset an explosion of online misinformation about everything from presidential politics to pandemics. So far, the U.S. lags many other democracies in waging this battle, and the consequences of inaction are clear. But for teachers already facing myriad demands in the classroom, incorporating internet literacy can be a challenge, especially given how politicized misinformation about vaccines, public health, voting, climate change, and Russia's war in Ukraine have become. The title of a talk for a recent gathering of Lee's group, How to Talk About Conspiracy Theories Without Getting Fired. It's not about teaching what to think, but how to think, said Julie Smith, an expert on media literacy who teaches at Webster University in Webster Groves, Missouri. It's engaging about engaging your brain. It's asking, who created this? Why am I seeing it now? And how does it make me feel? And why? New laws and algorithm changes are often offered as the most promising ways of combating online misinformation, even as tech companies study their own solutions. Teaching internet literacy, however, may be the most effective method. New Jersey, Illinois, and Texas are among states that have recently implemented new standards for teaching internet literacy, a broad category that can include lessons about how the internet and social media work, along with a focus on how to spot misinformation by cross-checking multiple sources and staying wary of claims with missing context or highly emotional headlines. Media literacy lessons are often included in history, government, and other social studies classes and typically offered at the high school level, though experts say it's never too early or late to help people become better users of the internet. Finnish children begin to learn about the internet in preschool, part of a robust anti-misinformation program that aims to make the country's residents more resistant to false online claims. Finland has a long history of combating propaganda and misinformation spread by one of its neighbors, Russia, and expanded to its current efforts after Russia's 2014 invasion of Crimea set off another wave of disinformation. Media literacy was one of the priorities before the time of the internet. Petri Hakkonen, Finland's Minister of Science and Culture, said in a recent interview, "The point is critical thinking, and that is a skill everybody needs more and more. We have to somehow protect people. We must also protect democracy." One recent report on media literacy efforts in Western democracies placed Finland at the top. Canada ranked 7th, while the U.S. came in at number 18. In Finland, the lessons don't end with primary school. They also have PSAs. More after this.
Sometimes I just cannot believe all the storms we've gone through here. I can only hope that we'll be able to leave this house to you one day, baby. You're our legacy.
Planning for these disasters will make sure we're safe, and is the best way to protect that legacy. You know what? We should make an emergency communication plan. That way we're ready this year. At my dorm, we have emergency kits for earthquakes and wildfires, but I'm sure there's something more local I can send you with a link.
Okay, smart.
protect your legacy. Visit ready.gov/plan for the tools and tips you need to start your emergency preparedness plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
The Federal Reserve is in the news a lot lately, talking about how interest rates are rising and trying to figure out inflation, and also now their challenge is to restore calm in a nervous banking system. First of all, Royce, the Federal Reserve is a weird organization, isn't it?
It's not so weird. Just the ultra rich that they can lend money to countries.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the Federal Reserve is also...
It's not a government agency.
It's not a government agency, exactly.
Nope.
That's what I was about to say.
It's independent investors that basically help set monetary policy because they have that much money that they can actually move the market with their money.
You know, every time Jerome Powell gets up, I'm like, what is the deal, man? Why are you trying to slap us down so much? What is the point of raising interest rates?
That's a tricky question because basically that's an economist question, right?
You're not an economist.
Oh, sure I'm not. Let's go talk about this some more, right?
Yeah.
So if you go back to, I think it was November of 2021, the reserve that banks were required to have a 10% reserve on your money. Basically, that means if you went to the bank and said, hey, I want all my money, they were only required to have on hand 10% of that money, and they could give you 10%.
Right.
Well, with that being undone in 2021, that allowed banks to then take all of that money and throw it at the market, which means they can invest at all. That's a 10% influx across the board globally, or at least in the United States, that banks could basically have more money to invest, to make more money, to put out more products.
So hold on. What you're saying is basically they took our money that they're supposed to be taking care of and they tossed it into the market.
Well, now 100%. Previously, they were only using 90% of it.
That's impressive. That's impressive.
Well, now take it the other side, right? In order for us to basically keep it stable, per se, now you have to basically somehow make the bank make enough money to be able to honor that 10%, but on the other side, where they don't have to actually hold it in their actual bank. So what I think is going to happen is we will not stop getting interest rate hikes until we get to about 10%. Because at that point, once again, you get 10% of your money when you go and ask for it.
So in other words,
it has to come from somewhere.
Yeah. So in other words, the Federal Reserve is kind of protecting the banks that are being bad with our money.
They're not necessarily being bad. They're investing, and with investment comes risk. But the Federal Reserve, in my opinion, is trying to make sure that basically if things turn from bad to worse, one, they have levers to pull. That means they can lower the interest rate, because if you go into a recession and the interest rate's too low, you basically have nothing to pull yourself out of a recession. And they're also trying to protect the average Joe who puts their money in the bank and are trusting in the bank to be able to at least get 10% of their money back, because the bank has 10% that they made that they can distribute.
Are they really doing that, though? Do they really think about the average Joe?
How would you like to go to the bank and say, we're sorry you put in $10, we can't give you not even $1 of it?
That's not cool. I don't like that at all.
I want at least $1. So, yeah, I like the 10% interest rate. Let's go.
Let's go. More after this on Arbitrage News.
I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you prevent wildfires.
Dude, I've got this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
You know what? I'll bet you $5. Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again. Then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling on it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
What did the buffalo say when he dropped his son off for school? Bye, son.
So take a moment to make your kid laugh, because dad jokes rule. Make your kid laugh today. Go to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
The last gas-powered muscle car from Dodge isn't leaving the road without some squeals, thunder, and crazy fast speed. The 2023 Challenger SRT Demon 170 will deliver 1,025 horsepower from its 6.2-liter supercharged V8, and the automaker says it will be the quickest production car ever made. Stellantis, formed in 2021 by combining the Fiat Chrysler and France's PSA Peugeot, says it can go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in a scary 1.66 seconds, making it faster than even electric supercars from Tesla and Lucid. It's what the performance brand from Stellantis is calling the last of the rumbling cars that for decades were a fixture of American culture on Saturday night cruises all over the country. Stellantis will stop making gas versions of the Dodge Challenger and Charger and the Chrysler 300 big sedan by the end of this year, squeezed out by stricter government fuel economy regulations and an accelerating shift to electric vehicles to fight climate change. The Canadian factory that makes all three cars will be retooled to make electric versions of the larger cars starting next year. Stellantis hasn't said whether all three models will survive, but it did show off a Charger Daytona SRT electric concept muscle car back in August. Tim Kuniskis, CEO of the Dodge brand and the unofficial spokesman for America's gas-powered rubber burners, said that while he'll miss the traditional muscle, he's excited about making electric performance vehicles. It's the end of an era for sure, he said Monday. Electric products, they're very fast. Muscle cars, one of the primary ingredients is to be a fast accelerating car, so I've automatically got the power. Now I've just got to figure out ways to bring all the elements in of excitement of the driving experience. Since last summer, Dodge has been rolling out special edition last call versions of its gas-powered muscle cars, culminating with an event Monday night to show the Challenger Demon 170 at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway drag strip. The new Challenger Demon, a descendant of a car that first went on sale in 1969, also produces 945 pound-feet of torque or rotational force, so much power that the company had to strengthen the rear drive shaft and differential with aerospace-grade materials. According to Stellantis, the car will be the first production vehicle to run a quarter mile in under 9 seconds, 8.91 to be exact. To do that, it hits a speed of just over 151 miles per hour. Horsepower and speed depends on how much ethanol is in the fuel. It gets only 13 miles to the gallon in the city and 21 in the highway, but it's doubtful anyone buying one will care even if the world deals with climate change. Kasunis says that it's a relatively small number of cars, and he says the ethanol they burn is cleaner than gasoline. Dodge, he said, will have built 2 million muscle cars by the time the production of gas versions ends December 31st. Dodge's followers, he said, deserve a celebration. After all these years, we owed it as much as to them as to ourselves to celebrate this end and give them something that produces a lot of pride in the brand that they love. The Demon 170 is street legal, though it comes with wide racing tires. To make it a daily driver, the company is offering a package of smaller, more street-friendly wheels and tires. At a devilish $96,666, it only comes with a driver's seat and a basic radio. More after this.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
What is dedication?
My daughter is biological and my son is adopted. I love them both so much. From the morning when you wake up to putting them to bed at night and every moment in between. I think a parent's job is to protect our children, but also prepare them for the world so they become good, kind human beings.
That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
It seems like in today's employerscape, there are two sides to the salary coin. Number one is we want to show you what you're worth by giving you a range of salary. Or number two, it's none your business, leave us alone.
Okay, I've seen that. Yes, I've seen both sides of that.
Yeah, and it's odd to me that happens, because it would seem like more information kind of helps the whole.
It does, but a lot of stuff. This is actually a very, very sticky subject, because basically you have the gender wars where basically women are most of the time paid less than men, which I think is extremely unfair. And then you have basically age discrimination. Basically, you're not old enough to make that much money, so you shouldn't make that much money, even though it's the same exact position.
Different side of the coin, you're too old to have that position, and therefore we can give you X amount of dollars.
Typically they wouldn't hire you for it, but I can see that happening as well.
Yeah. Well, there's new legislation in New York City, California, Washington State, Colorado, to where they are becoming more transparent with salary ranges in order to stay competitive with companies in states that require employers to post salary ranges. The number of postings that include salary information more than doubled between February 2020 and February 2023, from 18.4% to 43.7%.
Which definitely impacts the employer's bottom line, for sure.
Yeah. I think salary ranges are a good thing. You can't just go, okay, this job, let's say, I don't know, janitor for arbitrage. And trust me, we're not posting salary ranges, but I'm just saying, janitor for arbitrage makes $24,000 a year. That's horrible. But
that is horrible. That's near the poverty line.
We can do better. We would never do that. But I'm just saying. Salary for arbitrage janitor. Let's call it $32,382.
Sure, random number. Let's go.
Random number.
All right, we like it though.
But the thing is that you have placed that into a search engine or a posting or an ad, and you have to stand by that because it's golden. It's in the ad.
It is.
But you also have to take into account experience, things like education, things like on the job training and other things like that. That 32,000 may not be enough for the correct candidate.
That is very true. But that's the range that particular salary holds. That's actually where GDP comes in, but that's another conversation altogether, because you can outsource if it gets too expensive.
Right.
But no one wants to be outsourced.
No.
But basically knowing where the ranges are does give you a little bit of ammo to ask for what you think you're worth.
Y'all have a great weekend.
Arbitrage Trade Analytics, LLC is a privately held research company. Arbitrage Trade Analytics, LLC is solely responsible for the preparation and distribution of the contents of this podcast. The opinions offered in this podcast are for informational purposes only and are not intended to function as investment advice. Seek a duly licensed professional for investment advice. For more information about the informational research and services offered by Arbitrage Trade Analytics, LLC,